2 weeks ago, based on my assessment of fifth column action by anti-Russian government forces within the nation, I announced the Ukrainian offensive had begun. But that same week, any gains by the Ukrainians were countered by the Russians. And that's why I'm showing you pictures of these German dams from the Second World War. These dams are much like the Kakhovka Dam that was blown in Ukraine, were attacked and destroyed. On May 16, 1943, in Operation Chastise by the squadron that became known as the Dam Busters, the damage was severe, and in 1949 the Geneva Convention was amended, particularly Part 4, Article 15, which declares dams off limits. This is the Mon Dam, which showing the damage done by the bouncing bombs, which is what they became called. A man named Barnes Wallace designed the bombs to be dropped on the water behind the dams, bounce along the surface, sink behind the dam, and produce the damage you see in the photos. This was a wartime necessity, despite the damage it caused. These were the bombers that flew carrying the very large bombs. The next photo shows the design, how it bounced A, B, C, D, and then dropped into the water an E, exploding right behind the dam wall, creating a pressure wave. This was the test site in Wales where they proved it could be done. This reason I mention this is the Russians are reaching back to World War II for techniques to defeat the Ukrainians' high-tech modern weaponry. Recently, the Russians announced a remote-controlled drone tank, and they packed it with a huge amount of explosives. The explosion was insane. It was devastating. I mean, when I say devastating, it was massive explosion. This is a video from the Germans of a German Goliath remote-controlled tank. This shows it working. We aren't really ever sure if it worked, but this is what the Russians are basically using now to stop the Ukrainian counteroffensive. So, reports are the one that was used actually ran into a landmine. But as you can see here, the possibilities are devastating. Now, this falls back to my inclusion of Iran in the war as the initiation of a world war. This is footage of the Shah of Iran reviewing Iranian troops. Now, don't laugh at the mules carrying packs. As you watch this video, think about how these troops could be used in Ukraine. The artillery, even the mountain troops with the mules. These tanks you are going to see are M47 Pattons, but they're the equivalent to the T-55s the Russians are throwing into combat. So what I want to make a point is, despite all the advanced equipment the Ukrainians are using, the Russians are countering it with pre-Cold War tactics. Teddy was a bear. He lived in a yellow house. He played with trucks. Every week his Uncle Roy sent Teddy a letter. It always had a picture of a truck in it. One week Uncle Roy sent Teddy a big cardboard tube in the mail. Inside was a letter. Teddy, these are blueprints of a city I need you to build so we can play with it when I come to visit. Uncle Roy. Blueprints are big pieces of blue paper with plans for building something on them. Uncle Roy's blueprint was big and had a lot of buildings. It would be a big job, but Teddy knew a lot about trucks and was good at playing with them. Teddy went to bed on time so he could get up on time and get to work building the city. Does this mean Russia will win the war? No. The Russians made a mistake invading Ukraine. But it means the West has to help Ukraine even more just to hold their ground. The tactics Russia and their allies are using will require unconventional thinking. This is not the first Gulf War. This is the Iran-Iraq War. And that's why I'm showing this video, because we need to realize this if Ukraine is going to win the war. And they can, and they should.
The dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, the shore dimly seen through the mist of the deep, where the foes of your host in dread silence reposes. What is that which the breeze of the towering steep, as it fitfully blows, half concealed, half discloses? Now it catches the